Hey folks, it's Rob. Welcome back. We're continuing our series today on the Monstrous Compendium Appendix for the Mystara setting from 1994. We're continuing onwards. We're in the J's now. As you can see, we have Jellyfish, Giant on page 67. Surprise spoiler, we're going to be under the sea today, so get your potions of water breathing and other methods of handling the underwater environment, and we'll proceed from here. Remember to stay with your swim buddy. So, Jellyfish, Giant. You can see we have three different types here on the page, although we only have one pictured, which, again, a bit paler than the one I hold in my hand, but it is a, accurate picture, and at least this one comes through fairly well. Although it's definitely more pinky down here towards the bottom of the tentacle. It's like, you can just make it out. I'm afraid it's a bit ghostly. Again, where it's already pale, it really fades out and loses it. And you wouldn't even know that there's really, unless you really look, there's a bit of blue behind the tentacles to represent that it's like floating on the surface of the ocean or the water, as the case may be. I'm assuming ocean. They're jellyfish. Not really familiar with a lot of freshwater jellyfish in my life, but hey, it's your game. So let's go through the stat blocks. We have Marauder, Death's Head, and Galley jellyfish. These are all in non-Arctic ocean environments. The Marauders are uncommon, Death's Head are rare, and Galleys are rare. They are organized in schools, what with, fish. They're not really fish, though. Jellyfish are not fish. Activity cycles, any. They are carnivores. They are basically non-intelligent. I can buy that. They're fairly passive creatures in the world, right? In the real world. Let's see how it interprets these as monsters here, right? No treasure for the Marauders. However, Death's Head might have you treasure, while the Galley also has no treasure. They are true neutral. Any non-intelligent creature functionally doesn't have alignment, but we have an alignment system here, so they fall into true neutral. 1d10 for the Marauders appearing. Death's Head get d4, while Galleys are d6. Marauders have an armor class of 9. Death's Head have an armor class of 6, so they must be a bit on the tougher side, while Galleys have an armor class of 8. Concerning the system, basically, the Marauders are considered unarmored, right? Movement, swimming, 1. So they do move, but very slowly. Death's Head will swim at 3, and the Galley will swim at 12. The Marauder has 4 hit dice, the Death's Head has 6 hit dice, and the Galley has 5 hit dice. Marauder, therefore, has a to-hit AC 0 of 17. Marauder, the Death's Head has a THAC0 of 15, and the Galley also has 15. Marauder gets 40 attacks, 1d4 per target. The Death's Head gets 24 attacks, d6 per target, and the Galley gets 16 d4 per target. Yeah, you thought this was going to be straightforward, right? Marauders get paralysis and surprise. Death's Head get poison. And Galley gets spit venom for its special attacks. They all have no special defenses. And as for magic resistance, Marauder, nil. But the Death's Head has a 10% magic resistance. This is something we don't run into a lot in the book so far. So any spell that you cast at the monster, there's a 10% chance that spell will fail before you get even into saving throws. For you DMs out there. The Galley also has no magic resistance, as I said. The Marauder is size large, 10 foot in diameter, so it's like the full square on your 10 by 10 map, right? Although that's diameter, so, round out the corners. Death's Head is huge, 14 foot diameter. It actually, you'd have to circle around the points of the square, right? And then a Galley is also size large, 12 foot in diameter, so a little smaller and a little in between the two, right? They all have average morale, so I can't imagine a jellyfish breaking morale and swimming away at speed 1, but there you go. I mean, they'll be in a school. They probably flunked their education, but not that kind of school. XP value Marauder is 975. For the Death's Head, 2,000. And for the Galley, 975. Now, the Galley actually can leave, right? Speed 12. So, into the description. Each variety of these huge, nearly transparent creatures possesses stinging tentacles up to 100 feet long. The tentacles look like weeds hanging down in the water, but these giant jellyfish can manipulate their tentacles to attack prey. Giant jellyfish stay afloat by storing air in one or more large bladders, which make up the majority of their bodies. They float on or near the surface of the ocean. So, very much jellyfish. Marauder. The Marauder measures 10 feet across and has 40 tentacles. Its body is almost transparent, making it nearly undetectable, -5 to opponent's surprise rolls. The Marauder can use only 1d4 tentacles against each opponent, but it can engage up to 10 at once. So, that's how we manage that action economy. Otherwise, 40 1d4 attacks on a target would just be overwhelming, even on really high characters. Because that would be 40 to 160 points of damage if they all landed, right? And even with a hit AC 0 of 17, it just needs a roll of 20 to land a hit. So that's a 5% chance of landing hits. They'll still land a couple hits at a time, even on highly armored targets. But if they only have to face a d4 of them each, that's a lot more viable for your party. Or even solo players. It's just that they're going to have to bring down a 4-hit dice jellyfish at a time. Now, each tentacle causes 1d10 points of damage. The creature stung must make a saving throw versus paralysis or be paralyzed for 1d10 rounds. Paralyzed opponents are automatically hit by 1d4 tentacles each round the paralyzation remains in effect. The Marauder draws its paralyzed victim towards its mouth and can devour all flesh from a man-sized morsel in 3d4 turns. So, not a thing for even a small party, right? Unless they have decent saving throws. And even then, they might just roll badly. But, you could be having someone be rescued from this thing, too. They're being drawn into the beak. Although, I would imagine they kind of drown people. So, a tentacle can be severed with a single point of cutting damage, but only hits scored on the creature's body count towards its hit point total. Tentacles regenerate in several days. So, functionally, it has 40 hit points worth of tentacles, right? But that's really 40 different attacks because you need to sever the tentacles probably individually. That's a lot too, right? To just kind of neutralize a jellyfish. But, if your party doesn't want to kill it because it's just basically functionally a wild animal, right? That would be an option. Death's Head. The Death's Head takes its name from a pattern on its body that resembles a skull. So that's what's pictured here. That yellowness on the top of the body of the jellyfish is basically the side view of a skull, right? You can see the eye here and the nose, right? And it's like the top of the jaw, cheekbone, right? Temple. So, yeah. The jellyfish measures 14 feet across and has 24 tentacles. Its body is midnight blue, and the characteristic Death's Head mark ranges from yellow to fluorescent green. This aggressive jellyfish initiates attacks. It can bring 1d6 tentacles to bear against an opponent, with each tentacle inflicting 1d12 points of damage. The sting is fatal. Any creature stung by a tentacle must make a saving throw versus poison or die. A successful saving throw means the opponent makes all rolls at a -4 penalty for 1d3 turns. Penalties are not cumulative for subsequent hits. This jellyfish can engage 4 foes at once. Many sailors harbor a superstitious fear towards the death's head. If they spot one at night, they consider it a sign that someone is going to die. I mean, considering it attacks and that how it attacks and the damage it does, yeah, someone's going to die. If a jellyfish somehow recognizes your ship as prey, I wouldn't give it a lot of hope. Going to be a bad night. The Galley, so named because it is both a fast swimmer and a deadly surface combatant. This multicolored jellyfish measures 12 feet long and is shaped like a flattened oval. It uses the optical sensory organs on its body and its tentacles to detect prey. The Galley has 16 tentacles. It can aim 4 tentacles at a single opponent and can attack up to 4 targets at once. Each tentacle inflicts 1d8 points of damage. The Galley's deadliness stems from its poison delivery. Using its sensory organs, this creature can sense the presence of a foe on a surface. Using specialized tube-like tentacles, it shoots a stream of venom up to 20 feet away, requiring an attack roll. A creature struck by a stream must make a successful saving throw versus paralysis or be paralyzed for 2d4 rounds. Paralyzed opponents are hit automatically by any tentacle attacks. A venom attack roll, 4 higher than the number needed to hit, means the venom has struck the opponent's eyes. In this case, the opponent is blinded for 3d4 rounds and must make a successful saving throw to avoid paralysis. Galleys instinctively follow ships and often attack objects or creatures tossed overboard. Interesting, right? Something for a random encounter on a shipboard vessel, right? Or maybe perhaps by the seaside, if you're by the ocean. Let's move forward to the next page where we have, I'm going to call it, oh no, we have a pronunciation guide. It's Na, so that's fine. You can see it's kind of like a merman, right? It's got sharp claws, though, on its hands and feet, as much as those are hands and feet. It is holding a spear as well, which is quite interesting for something with that much sharp weaponry on its person. It's also wearing jewelry. So, interesting. Let's read. Climate terrain, any ocean. Frequency is common. They are organized in a tribe. Their activity cycle is any. They are omnivorous. They are very intelligent. That is 11 or 12. Treasure type P, but A in their lair. Alignment neutral good 80% of the time, or neutral evil 20% of the time. Interesting. Number appearing 2d10. Armor class 5. They swim at move 15. So swift in the water, really. Hit dice 7. To hit AC 0 is 15. They get 1 or 3 attacks. Damage is by weapon, or 1d4 for each claw and a d3 bite. So you get to use 1 weapon or 2 claws and a bite. They have no special attacks. Their special defense is skin that protects against fire and blunt weapons. Magic resistance is nil. They are large, 10 to 12 feet tall, so, they're not human size. Morale is elite at 14, and their XP value is 975. A Na, pronounced N-A-H, is a aquatic humanoid well known for its strength. These creatures live exclusively in salt water and cannot breathe air. They vary in occupation from peaceful traders to dangerous pirates. Nas stand 10 to 12 feet tall and have very muscular builds. Prominent features include large fins on their backs and heads, clawed hands, and bulging eyes. Their orange skin looks scaly but has a rubbery texture. They speak common and their own tongue and also can communicate in a special silent language. Combat. Nas, usually 70%, arm themselves with special bone spears made for underwater use. Some, 30% of those armed, also wield light crossbows designed specially for underwater. Combat. Unarmed Nas attack with their claws and sharp teeth. All Nas boast 120 foot infravision, so that's actually quite good infravision. Due to Nas's rubbery skin, blunt weapons inflict only half damage on them. Their skin also gives them a +1 bonus to saving throws versus normal fire. They do live exclusively underwater, so normal fire is going to be not really a hazard they really run into, but, we'll move forward from there. Nas cannot breathe air. All Na taken out of the water suffocate in 2d4 rounds, unless I would always adjudicate, an opposite of a breathe water spell or effect. So, if there's like a breathe air spell, they would be able to take the benefit of that, right? Um, Habitat/society. Nas live in tribes made up of several family groups, typically 3d4 families per tribe. Each family contains 4d4 adults and half as many non-combatant offspring. Na children reach maturity in 6 months. Like fish, Nas reproduce by laying eggs. All females within a tribe share the same fertile period. Autumn is the most common egg-laying season. A female Na lays an annual clutch of 3d6 eggs, 2d6 of which actually hatch, so some will be duds. 2 Nas are appointed as the children's full-time guardians for 6 months. During this time, the guardians teach the hatchlings everything they need to know to enter the adult world. If players encounter guardians with their charges, each guardian's morale increases to fearless 20 in combat situations. Na tribes dwell in shelters built into large barge-like platforms that float 20 to 30 feet above the seabed. The Nas construct these platforms from the light internal shells of giant squid and decorate them with bright shells and colored stones. Each tribe has its own distinctive decorative pattern. Many Nas live as peaceful traders, enjoying a prosperous relationship with other intelligent sea races, as well as air breathers living along the shore. Sometimes trade between Nas and humans is conducted by intermediaries, such as sea elves, who feel at ease in both environments. Unfortunately, some tribes have seen their territories usurped by ships of surface dwellers resort to piracy. These tribes, called the Uyach in their own tongue, wreck surface ships on reefs, overcome their crews, and plunder their cargo. Depending on the tribe's temperament and the victim's behavior, the Uyag might spare or slaughter the crew. Expect the latter if the surface dwellers killed a Na while resisting. Nas take no prisoners. Peaceful Na tribes, while disapproving of their pirate brethren, do not raise arms against them. Besides their normal racial language, Nas have a special system of hand gestures and body movements that allow them to speak silently, conveying simple concepts like retreat, attack, help, and friend. Surface dwellers can learn this sign language using a non-weapon proficiency slot. That is something particular to 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, that they introduced functionally a non-weapon skill system. You get certain points at certain times based on your intelligence and potentially level, right? And character class, or kit, as I'm getting too deep into AD&D 2nd edition weeds. Some non-weapon proficiency skills were introduced in like the gazetteers for Beckme. And I believe that is some fragment of it in the Cyclopedia, but it is not a functional part of the basic Dungeons and Dragons game. So we'll move forward. But I would allow it as a language choice if necessary, but it'd be a highly unusual language choice unless the campaign was built around having these guys around. Nas tame sea creatures for use as watch animals and beasts of burden. Uya use larger sea creatures to help tow surface vessels into reefs. A Na lair has a 60% chance of containing 2d6 domesticated sea creatures, especially hippocampi, which are like sea pegasi, narwhals, everyone's favorite narwhals, common whales, right or wrong whales, your choice, dolphins, and sea lions. A lot of those tend to show up in a given place, Nas and Kopru, see next page, are sworn enemies as they compete for the same food supply and habitat. Their constant bickering keeps both races' numbers down. Ecology. Nas hunt many sea creatures that humans consider predators, reducing the population of sharks, manta rays, lampreys, and the like. Unscrupulous alchemists have discovered how to use Na blood as an ingredient for potions of water breathing. These alchemists occasionally have been responsible for devastating raids on communities of good and peaceful Nas. So, interesting, and quite a little hook for building a campaign, or a not only a campaign, but also just simply an adventure. What a moral conundrum to be presented with to discover that the creatures that you've been sent to collect the blood from are not only sentient, but tend to be good and have no intention of actually doing anything to the party. Unless they've killed somebody. In which case, let's move forward. The Kopru. So this is on page 69, the opposite page. So I like how that's laid out, right? But I'm certain that's practically happenstance in this case. Kopru, while the Na live in any ocean, the Kopru live in tropical oceans and swamps. So they don't have a complete ecological niche overlap, as may have been suggested in the previous page. It looks, oh, it is so washed out on the head in what you're looking at. I'm sorry. So there's a hand here that's quite washed out in the foreground. It looks a bit like a seahorse, but with like an illithid mouth. There's actually an eye here. The eyes are kind of upwards in this view. The tail breaks off into these three streamers, and that's quite visible still, although that is quite dark in the picture I'm holding. The arms are banded, as is the body, right? And it's scaled throughout, which is a bit lost in what we're seeing here. But yeah, it's interesting how this got completely washed out, despite this being a fairly dark image. Let's read the stat block. So, tropical oceans and swamps is their climate/terrain. They are rare. Their organization is a pack. Their activity cycle is any. Diet omnivore. They're of average intelligence, 8 to 10. Treasure type I and N. So, they'll individually have treasures. They are chaotic evil. Number appearing 1d3. Armor class 3. Movement 3 on the ground. Swimming 15. Hit dice are 8 plus 4. So roll 8 hit dice and add 4. To hit AC 013, they get 4 attacks, which is 2 D4 claws, a D4 bite, and a 3D4 tail slash. Special attack is tail crush, 3D6, and charm. Special defenses are +2 saving throw versus magic. No magic resistance that's actually magic resistance, though. Although, that +2 saving throw versus magic is certainly something of a resistance, but that's not what they mean. They are size medium, 6 foot plus long. They have elite morale at 13 and are worth 3,000 XP each. Koprus are a degenerate race of heat-loving amphibians. Though they possess intelligence and power, their civilization has been in decline for generations. The Kopru, a man-sized creature with a humanoid upper body, has a smooth head, large eyes, and a tentacled sphincteral mouth. Its 2 arms end in webbed, clawed hands, and its sinuous lower body splits into 3 fluke-like prehensile tails, each capped with a sharp hook. Kopru's skin, light tan at the creature's hatching, gradually turns into olive in adulthood and fades to sickly brown in old age. Combat. A Kopru eschews weapons, instead attacking with a bite and claws that cause D4 damage each. A Kopru can also use its tail in combat. All 3 tails attack as one and cause 3d4 points of damage on a successful strike, as the hooks on the tails dig in and hold. The round after hitting an opponent with its tails, the creature draws the victim closer, wrapping its tails around the opponent and beginning to crush. On this and subsequent rounds, crushing automatically causes 3d6 points of damage, though a Kopru can choose to simply hold an enemy fast with its tails, inflicting no damage. While the tail crush generally has enough power to kill a victim, a Kopru also can bite a held victim automatically. The creature seldom uses claws on a held victim because it needs them to stabilize itself or to attack other opponents. If it does claw a held victim, a Kopru gains a +4 bonus to attack rolls. A victim held by the tails cannot wield weapons or otherwise move except to struggle. A successful bend bars roll frees a held victim. On land, the Kopru needs its arms for locomotion, so it cannot attack with them. It can use its tails to hit only targets behind it while out of the water. The Kopru's most insidious assault is its charm spell. It can cast instead of attacking physically. The beast may direct this power at any one opponent within 30-foot radius. A victim who fails a saving throw versus death magic becomes totally obedient to the Kopru's mental commands. If the target makes a successful saving throw, no other Kopru of that pack can charm the character successfully during the encounter. This charm differs from the spell Charm Person in that subject acts normally in day-to-day affairs, but obeys the Kopru immediately when mentally compelled to do so. The Kopru that casts the spell receives immediate mental access to the victim's thoughts and memories. A character can be controlled by only one Kopru at a time. Once the creature establishes control, distance does not limit the spell's effects. A Kopru can manipulate a charmed mind so that the victim acts under its compulsion, then resumes normal life again, unaware of being controlled. A caster can maintain this arrangement indefinitely. The charm remains in effect until dispelled with a dispel magic or wish spell, or the creature dies. For purposes of dispel magic, Koprus are a 9th level caster. Because of the affinity to magic, Koprus gain a +2 bonus to saving throws versus magic. Koprus hate all intelligent air breathers, especially elves, due to their resistance to charm spells. These creatures take special delight in killing elves. Their logic tells them that if no one can control something, better to kill it than to let it go free. Habitat/society. Koprus enjoy making lairs in very hot, wet environments, seeking out quiet grottos and underwater caves. In their lairs, Koprus live in packs of 3 to 24, 3d8, led by a dominant female. Of all the females in a pack, only the leader lays eggs twice a year. A clutch includes 2d6 eggs, though only 1d4 will mature. 1d4 immature offspring make it to the hatchling stage. Evidence suggests that Koprus once boasted of a powerful undersea civilization. They mastered magic and psionics and built an extensive culture. But climatic shifts or increased competition from the other marine races scattered these creatures on a descent into barbarism that continues the spiral. Adventurers tell of finding ruined Kopru cities on the ocean floor, filled with exotic treasures and occupied by nightmarish marine life. Scholars guess that Kopru's ability to read a charmed creature's thoughts may be the last remnant of their psionic abilities, so common during their days as a civilized power. Koprus view humans as brutes to toy with and control. They stalk strangers that wander into their realm, then attack at the victim's most vulnerable moment. Koprus and Nas, natural competitors, still fight constantly. Some sages suggest Kopru are related to mind flayers as mermen are related to humans. Hence the illithid-like mouth. Okay. Ecology. Wizards can use certain gland of the Kopru brain to create a ring of human influence and possibly, if they treat the gland differently, to construct protections from its charms. So there's a campaign plot hook, or just a session, for an adventure, right? The Kopru has mind controlled some humans that have led to an expedition against the Na. Or, whatever you like. You can have these be evil players in the background because those charms are difficult to dispel and don't have a range effect. Anytime this Kopru wants what it wills done, it just thinks it into the mind of the controlled character. Not something I'd want to subject a player character to for extended period of time. I'd want to introduce some saving throws to allow them to have control back of the character to avoid these bad things happening. But maybe at first they don't even realize what is happening. These are things that happen that they are unaware of. Things that have happened while nobody else was looking, right? You be as devious as you want to be. It's your game, your campaign. It wouldn't be unheard of for a dungeon master to be a little underhanded and sneaky. But I do like to let players have their agency over their characters when possible. So that's personal. That's me though. You do you. Um, Moving on to things for next time. We'll be doing lizards, which is a 2-page spread. So we'll see how we do with that, and we'll see you next time. It is Easter tomorrow, and I hope that you have. At the time of this video will go out, it will be Easter, and I hope that you have a good day. And thank you very much for your time and attention. Your views are important to me, as is your comments and likes, etc. All the interaction is very much appreciated for my channel. You have a great day. Goodbye.